Hello everyone and welcome to another MTR Fab video. This is MTR and I am here because I have an issue with my wood stove. And this is my Dutch West 2461 large convectional heater is what Dutch West calls it. And I actually had some door gasket failure. So it failed on this side door, and it failed really because of the way we use it. So we actually start this stove commonly with a small handheld propane torch, and we just rest it in the door here, and because of that we've kind of loosened the edge of the door gasket, and we've been using it for about 3 months, and honestly it probably should have been redone a while ago. I just chose to kind of bypass it when I freshened up the stove because it was still alright. It was just coming off in one spot. I glued it back down and said good enough. But here today we're going to replace it. So the first thing we have to do and note is the stove has been off for quite a while. And you want it out for quite a while because it's going to stink if you open it up and it's still hot. So make sure the stove's pretty much, been dead for a little bit. And then you're going to take the door off. I'm going to take the door off. You can do whatever you'd like. You can do it in place, but I find it easier to remove the door, and I'll show you the failure now real quick before we remove the door. You can see the gasket's kind of just hanging in one piece all the way around, and we're going to tie our joint in somewhere on the hinge side, or up and down in this flat. But first things first, we're going to lift the door off. So to take these doors off, all you have to do is open the door and just lift it. So now the stove is open. These are the tools I'm going to use to clean this up. So you've got to have something to remove whatever's left of the gasket and the cement that's left behind. There's not, there's going to be some of it's going to just fall right off, some of it's not. And then I have a couple different style wire brushes. I would probably choose something a little more aggressive than these two, but that's what I got, so that's what I'm going to use. And the other thing we need to fix this situation is the actual rope gasket. And as you can see, I have the Dutch West owner manual. And in the owner's manual, there is a section about replacing gasket. And in here they actually say all rope type gasketing used in Dutch West convection heater is made of fiberglass. The gasketing is 7/16 inch diameter for the front and side doors, and the ash door and 3/8 for the top plate. 1/4 inch gasketing is used behind the glass. So with that, I went to the store and tried to find some 7/16, and they all kind of laughed and said, it's either 3/8 or half, that's what we got. And so I went to 2 different stores, couldn't find any. So anyway, I have 1/2 inch. I'm not going to reuse the old stuff, so I got to get some new stuff. And their recommendation was just stretch it down so it's more like 7/16. And I get that. So that's what we're going to try here. And if not, you can order 7/16 online. I did find it, but I'm not going to wait because I need my stove. So, but anyway, we're going to probably use this material here with this rope. And with that, over here, we have our door propped up on 2 of those cylinders, propane cylinders that I used to start it with, and that's just to keep the handle off the floor. I'm going to pull this gasket off around here, and I'm going to scrape this groove down here so I can get it to look more like this. I wonder if you guys can see the impression from the door lip in the gasket. So I'm going to bet that this gasket's been replaced and that this is 1/2 inch rope. And you can see how much material is left behind in the groove. So I've got to get all of that out, but first I got to pull this rope off. So I'm going to clip you guys in. We're going to see if we can, prepare to get messy. Alright, so there is something on the floor. I'm not too concerned about it because I'll just sweep it up, but you definitely don't want to go anywhere after you start flaking this little black stuff around. So you should probably do this outside, maybe. I want you guys to removal here. And try not to slam it around, you know. Halfway around, all kinds of mess, but it's not really going anywhere. I am going to say probably don't want to vacuum that up with a regular vacuum, so I would recommend either dumping it in the trash or back in your stove or out in the driveway. But there's definitely a pretty good layer in here, and it's almost easier with the more there is because you kind of get under it and wiggle it along. But one of the thoughts I had is I kind of accidentally found the perfect screwdriver when I first picked this, but I would recommend being careful on approach and not getting too aggressive with prying down in here, because I could definitely see this edge is pretty thin, and if you were aggressive enough, I bet you could crack a corner off of this or break the lip on this door. And you know, cast iron's really strong stuff, but it is fragile, as in it's brittle. We're going to use the rope out of this package, and we're going to use the cement out of this tube. I've read the directions. They are two completely different products, it appears. So read the directions on your product if you plan on doing this at home. So like I mentioned, this is the half-inch rope, but you can see how it easily stretches, so I don't see why we can't stick it down a little pre-stretched in the groove. It fits nicely in there. I don't think it'll be an issue, so we're going to move on with that. The recommendation here is to not cut this to length until you're pretty much done setting it. And then this product here recommends that you knead it before you use it. So we're going to knead this tube, and possibly I may have to actually cut the tip to let a little air out of it to get a proper knead. So I'm going to do that. I've got to get something to cut this tip to the proper bead width, but I'm going to try to get something in one pass that I can just go around and use pretty much all of this product up and be done with it. It's not going to be good for anything after this because it'll likely be dried up. This product also does mention to wet the surface, as I think a lot of cement-based products do. So I'm going to get a paper towel, soak that up with some water, dab that around in the first, maybe one side of it. While it's nice and wet, I'll start applying gasket. I'm actually going to start on the hinge side, and my theory there is I'm not going to be bumping it all the time, opening and closing, throwing wood in and out of it. So I think it's going to be safer over here, and we're going to go in one piece. We're going to go all the way around and meet back, but we're not going to cut either end until we're pretty much done. Alright, this stuff's a lot more watery than I thought, so I'm actually going to make sure I don't need to knead it more, and I'm going to wet the whole thing because I'm not worried about it drying out. I don't, I've never worked with this particular brand or product, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So we're gonna just soak in a little bit of water into the cast iron, make sure that it's wet. We're gonna pound a bunch of material in here. I'm not too worried about the application because I'm going to show you why here in a second, and why I recommend wearing gloves. It does say you want to use as little as possible to do what you need to do, but I want to make sure that this is wet enough so it really grabs that gasket. Because I think that's where I've gone wrong in the past, is I'm always shy on using this stuff, but the reality is that once you open it, it's gone. So get it used up. Got a nice towel, and it is a mess, so do not think you're going to do this without possibly messing some around. So So I know I said I wasn't going to cut it, but I will tell you there is one end of this that appears to be terminated. So that's where we're going to start, and we're going to start with that right down in here, and we're going to pre-stretch it a little bit. I'm going to start right kind of in the middle of the door. I'm going to press it down in, applying firm pressure and kind of stringing it out. Now, I'm not too worried about how much of this I get. Obviously you don't want it all over the gasket surface, especially on the side that you're going to be closing, but a little bit of it's not going to hurt anything. So you do want to make sure to wad them kind of up in the corners. I'm going to take a second to wipe my hands up. So I definitely used too much. You can use less than I did, but like I said, it's kind of hard to put it in there after. You know, you do want a healthy amount in there. Be nice. Like I said, I kind of almost push it back on itself in the corners. So there's almost like there's a little more material in there. Why I said don't cut it is because you really don't know what the length is. You know, as you can see, I'm stretching it out, laying it in there. You do want to kind of go back and keep checking on your work. Make sure you didn't pull out the corner as you're tucking in the rest of it. So at this junction, when I cut it, I'm going to make sure I cut like a little bit more than I need and almost stuff it down in there so the ends are kind of, you can see this one ends. You can always take away a little bit more, but I'm going to start right about there. And I'm going to put an extra little blop in there. Wad that up a little bit. Now to critique my own work, I definitely could have done a better job at getting less cement on this surface. But other than that, I'm happy with the liberal application. I do recommend more than less. The joint's right there. There's plenty of cement holding that together. And now I'm going to read the directions on curing this. It says allow this thing an hour of air drying to cure before I slowly heat it up. Within 30 days, it says start a fire and gradually increase the heat to 500 degrees Fahrenheit to cure. So we're going to start a little fire in here in a little bit. We're going to give it some time to set, and we're going to, it does say leave the door open while it's curing. I'm going to leave it just like it is. So to start this, you want to get yourself some Harry logs, a little bit of that trash that the USPS does deliver. Throw that trash on the bottom there. You get some kind of triangle stacking action going on here. And then we bring in the big boy. Alright. So, get the catalyst off. We're going to crack this door a little bit. So I've got it sealed up and burning. It's been a little bit. I did have to adjust the handles. Well, and I say handles, I had to adjust this handle obviously because the gasket fits different, and I did kind of load it right up for the first night. I want to get a good seal on the door. I could see flame, you know, or orange through the seam at first. On this side, on the hinge side, it was fine, but over here, I needed to tighten it up. But that's it. All fixed up one night. Everything's sealed back up. I'm happy instead of fighting with it. It's a little bit safer now. So with that, I'm done. Thanks for watching. If it was helpful for anybody, please like, comment, subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one. I'm out.